Great. So we are live. I'm just going to wait for a minute for everyone to come in. I see 100 plus people dialed into the webinar already. That's great. These are people who are sharp on time. But I'm going to give the others a few seconds or say another 30 or 40 seconds before I start. But in the meanwhile, those who have dialed in are able to hear me loud and clear. If you can just put a quick yes in the chat box to confirm that my audio and video are clear. Awesome. So I do see some confirmations coming in. I'm assuming others are able to hear me loud, are able to hear me clearly as well. So if you can put a quick yes in the chat box, that would be great. Awesome. I have a few more confirmations over here. All right. If you and those who are here on time, I see 250 people dialed into the session right now. So that's a great number to see over here. But those of you who are here, why don't you also mention the cities you're dialing in from? Gives us a good understanding of which part of the country you're coming from. Just mention the city that you're coming in from. Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Indore, Bhopal, Chandigarh, wherever you are from, just mention your city name, and that would be great to see as well. Okay, so we have people from Jalandhar, Dubai. Okay, Godwin is dialing in from Dubai. I see Kalyani from Pune. Aranthe from Jalandhar again. I see someone from Jamshedpur. Okay, this is too fast. There are so many people writing in. I see Gwalior, Pune, and basically all over the country. So really great audience, great spread of audience. Okay, Gaya from Bihar. Okay, I see. Okay, Mumbai, Haryana, Delhi. All right, great. So great to see that. And I'm sure you can see the topic of our session on the screen already. And I'm going to introduce our speaker in a bit. But before I do that, I want to run one quick poll. I want to gauge some audience intent and interest. So I'm going to launch a poll right now. And you should be able to see it on your screen right now, which is about in which year are you aiming to start your master's studies, right? So we are sitting in 2021. Are you looking to start your master's education in 2022, 23? You're indifferent, you're okay starting in 22 or 23, or you're looking at 2024 or later. Okay. I see 7% saying that they're not interested in pursuing a master's program. Okay. I see around 48, 49% saying they're looking at 2024 or later. So these are people who are looking at opportunities or trying to understand the landscape well in advance. 7% who are indifferent. Okay. Around 16% saying 2022 and around 34% saying 2023. So roughly, if I have to, I'm going to keep the poll open for another 10 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded, please respond. It gives us a good understanding of what your aspirations, what your plan is like. So I see roughly as of now, okay, I see the responses still coming in. 31 people have responded so far. I'm going to keep it live for another few seconds. Okay, 140 responses now, closer to 150. Okay, as I get 150 responses, I'm going to end this poll. So, all right, so I'm going to end the poll now. We have 151 responses. And I'm going to share the results as well. I'm going to let the audience see in as well. So roughly 6 plus 15, so around 41% looking to start their program in the next 2 years. 7 are indifferent, so I'm going to add those in. So around 48% who are indifferent about 2022 or 2023 as such broadly. And then 44% looking at 2024 or later, and 8% not being interested in pursuing masters abroad. Okay, or a master's program overall. So I'm going to end the poll over there. And now I'm going to talk about us and the speaker. So I'm going to introduce myself. Good evening, everyone who's dialed in. It's great to see all the people in this session over here. We are 350 plus right now. I'm Sanjay Dhingra. I'm a co-founder and director at Seed Global Education. We're a global higher education, marketing, and advisory services. We work with global universities and universities in the US and Europe and Asia as well. We keep on hosting such events, such interactions with admission officers, senior career services folks from across universities and institutions. And in today's session, I'm being joined by Portuguese, who is the recruitment professional at MIT, which is Politecnico in Milano, amongst the leading universities in Milan, in Italy, and a dear friend. And we did a similar session with her a couple of months ago, and I've seen this presentation before, and it's extremely insightful. I dropped my earplug. So I've seen this presentation before, and the data, the insights that board shares in this presentation is extremely, extremely insightful. We are also going to be joined by one alum of the institution who's going to talk about his journey, his experience. So he's going to come into the session in a bit, in another 20-25 minutes. Very interesting content lined up for you today evening. But at this point, let me hand it over to Bor to do a more detailed introduction of herself and Zeeshan, and we'll look at the presentation and come back with the Q&A. Over to you, Bor.
Of course. Thank you so much, Sanjay. And of course, thank you to your colleagues at Seed as well for putting up this great session. I can see that we're touching 400 participants now. So thank you to all of you for this great turnout. And I hope that the stats and the information that we've compiled for you on the futuristic high-tech careers in the post-pandemic era will be insightful for you. And I hope that you'll have some nice takeaway to take with you today. And well, my introduction. So briefly, Sanjay already introduced me. And well, I'm having a hard time moving to the next slide. Okay, here we go. All right. So, well, this is me. My name is Bor Dubey. I'm originally from India. And I work in the marketing and recruitment division at MIP Politecnico di Milano, which is the business school of the #1 technical university in Italy. In the later half of the presentation, I'm also going to be joined by Zeeshan Qureshi, who is one of our alumnus from the Big Data and Business Analytics program. He graduated a couple of years back, and he'll be with us as well to share his insights about the experience at me, but also about the prospect of working, for example, in quite a hot sector right now, which is that of big data and analytics. And we have an important message on this screen, which is that I'm first of all very, very excited to see this kind of turnout, especially from India and from the subcontinent in general. And I'm in India right now, so I'm traveling various cities, and I'll have the pleasure to meet you perhaps in one of the cities which are on my agenda for this particular leg of this India trip. So there's my WhatsApp official number over there in case you would like to book an info session to learn more about our programs, have a personalized pre-assessment of your profile. Then I'll be happy to meet you and set up a meeting with you. If you're not going to be in one of the cities where I am, of course, I'll be happy to speak to you on phone or WhatsApp as well. So do take the advantage. And we're going to later on also give you a link through which you can book an info session online too, in case you're not able to get in touch with me on WhatsApp. Okay, so that's a quick introduction about the speakers, including me, and let's get straight to the agenda of today, right? So today we're going to present to you some of the new job opportunities that are opening up now. Some are new, some are still old, but now gaining impetus thanks to the pandemic that we all have been witnessing in the last, let's say 2 years, 1.5 years at least. And we have compiled these statistics thanks to the wide network of partner companies that we work with at MIP. And some of these statistics will allow you to explore the futuristic job opportunities that are opening up, or like I said, which are now gaining impetus thanks to the changes that companies, organizations, and industries are witnessing because of the outbreak of the COVID-19 disease, of course. And to summarize, some of the top opportunities will be in sectors like digital marketing and e-commerce, of course, cybersecurity management and cybersecurity in general, also cloud computing, IT solutions design. The whole domain of big data, data science, analytics will still be big. And then the new opportunities will open up in fields like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, machine learning, augmented reality, and so on. So pretty much this is like a summary of the main sectors which will be very attractive for the next year. We will look at each of these in detail, of course. All right. But to give you something more concrete than getting into the details of each of these sectors, we have compiled this collage basically of companies which according to us are the top employers in 2021, but they will be even big in 2022. If you see the spread, pretty much all the sectors are represented. So we have got luxury, fashion, insurance, banking, e-banking, e-commerce, cosmetics, fast-moving consumer goods, then luxury, we have consulting, PwC, white goods, banking, like I said, manufacturing. Then, of course, companies like Amazon, we know how aggressively they're hiring these days. So the spread is very big. So first of all, for young graduates like you, my message is that you shouldn't be disappointed, because there was a lot of sentiment in the last year, a lot of fear, uncertainty, anxiety related to how the job markets are going to respond. So I can tell you a very interesting thing actually about the European job market. When we basically started witnessing the outbreak, and we were the pioneers in Italy, let's say. So when we started with this, I mean, when the outbreak started, of course, the first few months from like March to July 2020 were like complete blackout. Of course, we as a school were losing internship opportunities, companies were pulling out, and we lost a lot of, let's say, the network that we had with companies and a lot of opportunities for jobs and internships for our students. But after July 2020, when the market restarted, when everything reopened, the companies then began to like kind of stand up on their feet a bit, right, Sanjay? Correct me if I'm wrong. And that is when we saw an acceleration in the hiring actually, and that's still continuing. You have to understand that, well, the companies are there, giant companies, big companies, of course, are there. They will adapt, they will innovate, they will somehow stay in the market. What we have to look at are what are the new domains in which new opportunities are being created. Of course, there are job opportunities which have been scrapped totally. If you work in a supermarket at the cash counter and nobody's really coming to the supermarket, clearly your job has been in danger. But at the same time, if you are an IT person, perhaps the supermarket wants to hire you because they need a lot of people now to you build the capacity for online shopping at the supermarket's website. So new opportunities have been developing, old ones have been scrapped, but I mean, the overall sentiment shouldn't be negative, but I mean, young graduates like you should focus on the positive. This is our message. And therefore, you can see several of these companies are top names, top-notch names, which have been hiring, for example, from our school. This is our statistic. Okay, and coming to now the more specific job titles. So if you look at this list, basically it pretty much is comprises in these 6 domains that we talked about earlier. So several positions will be there in the field of data science. So data analyst, big data scientist, data and BI specialist, for example, but a lot of opportunities are also opening up in the field of content marketing, for example, or in e-commerce, for instance. A lot of opportunities are also opening up in digital banking or in e-retail, as it's called. The new dimension that we are seeing of e-retail is, of course, Fintech. Okay, so Fintech, for example, the program that we began a few years ago had a really slow start, but after the pandemic, it's now going haywire because everyone is understanding that without technologies, applications of Fintech, we can't pretty much operate today, given that everything is online. And a lot of opportunities will also be in risk analysis, for instance, financial risk management. They say that 20 years ago, CEO was the most important, the most fancy job position in companies, for example, in the corporate world. And then came CMOs and CFOs and COOs, for example. Now that dimension is changing as well. So also at the C level, there are new opportunities coming up. One of them is CRO, for example, the Chief Risk Officer, which is the most fancy position, for example, if you work in a bank. Okay, so risk analysis is quite important as well, which it also includes cyber risk, cybersecurity risk. So these are pretty much the top job positions, which will always be sought in the coming, let's say, 2 to 5 years. And this is something that we compiled the last year, but it's true also for 22 and 23 as well. Now, for the individual topics. So we focused on 6 domains before, and we're going to dive deep a little bit into each of those sectors to understand what are the industry trends, first of all, that are governing companies operating in each of these 6 sectors. And we are also going to understand what are the job opportunities that you can access. So here we have compiled a set of data These are basically very numeric and objective stats that you can read. I will not go into the details of each one of them, but basically what the data scientist does is to compile the voluminous data that companies have at their disposal in a way that the companies or its partners can extract useful information from this kind of data. There are three types of data that companies have access to. One, of course, is the first type is, of course, Internet of People. So data generated by the Internet of individuals, as it's called. And this data can be pictures, comments, quotes, tweets. It can be a lot of data that, for example, general people like us put up on places like Facebook and Instagram. So if you combine all of that data, it's so big and voluminous that you need some specific statistical and data science tools to compile it in a way that you derive some meaningful information out of it. Then, of course, there is the Internet of Things domain. So also all the devices that we use today are intelligent and smart, and they have sensors and collect data all the time. So if you buy even a Samsung fridge, it's a smart fridge. It's feeding data back to the manufacturer continuously to inform the manufacturer about its use. For example, how many times do you open the door of the refrigerator? What kind of food do you store in it? Things like this. So again, all this data pooled together is very big. And the third type of data is the data, for example, that's with the credit card companies like American Express. All this data, when pooled together, like I said, is big, and there is a need of three types of professionals. We need data scientists who are supposed to, model and compile this data. We also need the data science architect as well, who will see the tech behind this data. And then we also, of course, have the data users, which are not exactly technical professionals, but they are people who have the capability of analyzing the reports that the data scientists and the data science architects produce. So these are basically managers who are supposed to analyze these reports and take a meaningful decision for their company. So these are the three, let's say, categories under which the several job opportunities in the field of data analytics and big data are, let's say, divided. And if you are able to join a top master program like one of ours, you will, of course, study about concepts like data management, warehousing, cloud computing, a bit of artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, and so on as well. In each of these slides, you'll see some companies in the bottom, and these are our partner companies for these master programs. Okay. Moving on to the next topic, which is cybersecurity management. Now, since every big and small business has digitalized itself in the last 2 years, again, thanks to the pandemic, there is a big need of cybersecurity experts. So a big need of not just cybersecurity experts who manage, the servers or manage, let's say, the payment portal, but you need an in-house cybersecurity expert, they say. Okay. And the new dimension of cybersecurity is cybersecurity management. So when people look at cybersecurity, they imagine situations like FBI kind of situations where there is an attack and there is a team of nerds and like IT experts in a room, in a situation room with a lot of with a lot of buzz and crisis and anxiety. Yeah, that is there. Those are the cybersecurity tech people. Okay. But cybersecurity management is not just about ethical hacking and being able to crack into servers and that kind of stuff. It's a lot more. It's much bigger than that. Okay, I will give you again the example that I quoted earlier. If you work in an organization like FBI, for example, or even if you work for the government and you're trying to shield, for example, an infrastructure system like the electricity system of a major city or the water supply system of a major city, which has been hacked by some crazy people, let's say. Okay, then you need tech experts to crack that, to mitigate that attack, but you also need other experts. You need lawyers, okay, the legal professional who have some IT understanding to be able to manage the situation correctly from a legal point of view. You also need people from criminal psychology, okay, to understand what is the motivation, what is exactly the the drivers behind behind these malicious actors. Then we also need people who are managers, because a situation room like this has a lot of anxiety, has a lot of energy. It has to be managed and channelized in the right way. So people managers are also required in cybersecurity professions. So this new dimension of cybersecurity management has come up, and you can see very interesting statistics on this screen that we have recently compiled, because of course it's a new domain. I would like you to focus on the last one. So among the top, the most sought after job positions in 2022, the growth hacker and the cybersecurity manager is included. Okay, so these are positions which will be required by all types of companies, big and small, whether you are a next door restaurant, you have recently digitalized your operations, your customers are buying your food online, you need to protect their credit cards and their personal information, you need an in-house cybersecurity manager. Imagine the type of complexity for a company which is like a nuclear power plant, for example. Okay, imagine the number of people they need to mitigate a cybersecurity attack. One major example of such a situation was the attack on the nuclear power plant in Iran, which all of you must have heard about, where some silly people hacked into the system and they destroyed a lot of the uranium reserves of the Iranian government. Okay, a recent example was a hack into the gas supply in the western part of the US, for example. Banks have cyber attacks almost on a daily basis, but we don't even hear about it because they have big teams of cybersecurity experts who are protecting your personal information, your financial information. So this particular domain is going to become really big. The job opportunities in this sector, of course, will be at the specialist level. So you can become a security architect, information security personnel, forensic computer science analyst. I said that there are different professionals who are involved in cybersecurity management. So people also from forensic sciences, scientific disciplines are required as well. Then at the C level, I said that new opportunities are emerging. So it's not only about the CEO and the CFOs and CMOs, but now it's also about the CIOs and CISOs, which is Chief Information Officer and Chief Information Security Officer. They say that in the future, the cybersecurity manager, if you're the head of cybersecurity in a major company, you will be reporting not to the Chief Information Security Officer, but you will report directly to the board of directors. That's how important you're going to become. So it's a new domain that is worth exploring as well. Okay, then there's digital transformation. Now, digital transformation is a bit broad. So we said all the companies, big and small, are digitalizing. And there are various technologies that companies have to adapt to, learn, and eventually, innovate and adapt their operations, the way they produce products, the way they manufacture products, the way they offer services. Some big technologies, some major technologies that are driving the digital transformation revolution are fintech, of course. There's Industry 4.0. There is smart manufacturing. And of course, the whole domain of big data and data science as well. Here, out of all the stats that we have, the one that I'd like to focus on is the fifth one, which is that if you divide the skill set that is required by a company today, from 100, like if you try to divide it as a percentage of 100, 43% of the skills that are required are digital skills. So in the past, recruiters used to talk about hard skills, and then soft skills became very important. They're both still very important, but almost half of it is now the digital skill set that will really, give a competitive edge to your profile when you're applying for an internship or a job opportunity. Okay, so all the companies, again, like I said, big and small, are needing people who can drive the digitalization strategy of a company. The company, like I said, can be a small vendor of food. It can be a big company like Amazon, for example. So this is something important. This is a more broad topic. We talk about different technologies inside this. Main ones, of course, are AI, virtual reality, then smart engineering, cloud computing, and so on. As a specialist in digital transformation, you can explore opportunities through the corporate path. So you can work inside an existing company to lead their digitalization strategy, become, for example, the project manager of a major IT or digitization project. Or you can become an innovation specialist. You can also open your own startup. We know that a lot of top tech companies which are disrupting existing businesses are high tech startups. But you can also take the consulting path. You can also become a consultant for one of these companies to drive their digitization strategy. Then we have the topic of fintech finance and digital innovation. So fintech basically is a more niche topic, a niche topic. Here we focus on technology, which is particularly related to the finance sector, under which 4 sectors in particular: banking, of course, finance and financial intermediation, retail, and insurance. Insurtech and fintech, they go hand in hand. All right. So this domain is about technologies which are affecting these 4 sectors in particular. And what we teach here are various technologies. Of course, you can specialize in e-retail, digital payments, contactless payments. You can see some of our partners are credit card companies, credit card circuit companies. I mean, like Nexi, for example. Then you can also specialize in blockchain, cryptocurrencies, you know, stuff like Ethereum and so on. And these technologies are now becoming very important as well, because again, all the companies are digitalizing and they need people to be able to manage the finance department correctly using these technologies. So if to quote a simple example, I will give you an example of daily your local bank that you go to. So how many of you have not visited a bank for, let's say, the longest time, for a couple of years now? I am one of them. I've not been to a bank since a long time to do any transaction, let's say face to face, but I do everything digitally. I'm sure most of you do that. So what is the driver behind this? It's the fintech revolution. The challenge for the banking sector in particular, or even the trading or financial intermediation share market sector, is that a lot of the drivers of the fintech revolution are startups. Okay, so for example, Western Union, which is the company that all of people like us who have to send, for example, money back home, use instead of a bank, right? So imagine the type of business that a company like Western Union, which is essentially a startup, is having, and how it's challenging the established businesses of a major bank like Societe Generale, for example, or any other major high street bank, for example, in the UK. And the idea is that banks have now started to understand that they need to keep up with this revolution, this technological revolution, if they need to survive in the market, because otherwise people like us will continue using the services of Western Union and TransferWise and other startups which are providing very good quality and online services. And eventually we will stop banking with the high street banks which have been there for hundreds of years. This is the major challenge for the banking and the financial sector right now. And new opportunities have opened up. So what a bank needs today is not the person who sits at the counter who does the bank transfer for you all day, but they need people who can act, who are IT experts actually, who can maintain the algorithm of the application using which the customer does the bank transfer himself at home. So the need of IT experts and engineers and digital transformation professional in banking and finance is becoming quite big. The roles, of course, can be as a consultant. You can become a digital finance expert in a bank. You can also become an IT manager. The IT department has never been so important in the banking sector, than in 21 and 22. Okay, then the next domain is slightly different. This is smart operations and industry 4.0. So like I said, industry 4.0 is the manufacturing model of the future, like it says here on the screen. There are companies in the world, okay, which have warehouses, which have manufacturing units, which have shop floors, which have zero personnel, zero. Okay, So if you are the manager of a manufacturing unit, which has 100 people, you have been trained to use a certain skill set to manage these 100, for example, workers working on the shop floor, right? But when you deal with humans, there are various incentives to motivate them to work, to get things done from them, right? You can shout at them, you can incentivize them, you can do a lot of things to get things done from them. Right, Sanjay? But if you are made the supervisor or the manager in a manufacturing unit, which has only robots and machines, then what kind of skill set are you looking at? Okay, we need the infrastructure here to be able to manage this complex network of machines, robots, and automated devices to keep up the assembly line or to keep up the production process running. If there are no people in the industry, like who will you shout on? Okay, just to put it simply. This is essentially smart operations and industry 4.0. Okay, so most companies today, in order to save cost, in order to make the process simpler, faster, cheaper, more cost effective, also more eco-friendly, they're adapting the model of automation. Okay, industrial automation. And this is not, we say smart operations and not smart production, because it's also applicable to the services sector. So there are some banks, for example, in Europe, like it's called Finbank. I'm sorry that I'm not remembering the name. Or ING, for example, is a good example here. ING in Europe has offices with nobody. There are offices with nobody, basically. So there is a physical office, but you could go there to find nobody. So it has a set of kiosks, basically, and a set of devices. Basically, you just go there because you want to go there, and still you do the same operation on a screen. Okay. So this is ING in Europe. So this is the type of, this is the way operations are being handled in companies, both at the manufacturing level, but also in the service industry. So the new skill set that is required for people in supply chain, for people in logistics, operations, production management, for example, other roles in manufacturing, for instance, quality control, TQM, R&D, new product, new quality, new technology development, they require a very digital set of skills for things like smart engineering, smart maintenance, for example. Okay. Then, of course, in quality control, like I said, Lean Six Sigma and all of these things, but from a digital point of view. That is basically what the fourth industrial revolution, adorably called the Industry 4.0 is all about. Okay. And then the final one is, of course, the new domain of e-commerce and sales management. So the pandemic basically gave a very important revelation to companies, which is that if we want to continue to sell our products, we need to be digital. Okay. If you have a big sales force, which basically meets people face to face every day to be able to sell your products, or you have big boutiques in which you invest a lot of money where people come, for example, try on products or, drive a car, test drive a car, for example, then the challenge to digitalize all of this is quite big. Okay. If you are in the banking sector, possibly it is easier because you can still offer the service online. But if you are in the luxury sector, if you're a company like Gucci or Louis Vuitton, to digitalize the experience is extremely complex. It requires a lot of AI, things like virtual reality and voice recognition, natural language processing, a lot of these technologies to be able to provide the same experience to the customer that they are likely to have in a physical boutique. Imagine a company like Ferrari. Ferrari has to, we had a presentation with the digital transformation expert from Ferrari, and the type of investment that they're making in that domain is huge. It's humongous. Okay, because you cannot sell a product like Ferrari online, first of all. Okay, if you like. And so the personalized experience, the physical experience with the car, okay, emotional experience also is very important. And all of that has to be replicated online. It's extremely difficult to do. It sounds easier, but it's extremely difficult to do. Okay. So that is where the whole domain of e-commerce and UI and UX, user experience, user interface, and these things come in. Also sales management, because Salesforce management now is no longer the same. So because the sales people are not really meeting their clients, so everything has to be done online. So this is where technology comes into play. So you will notice a very interesting statistic over here, which is that there are 450,000 jobs that the e-commerce sector will produce by 2026. Okay, the e-commerce sector alone, we are not even talking about sales. Okay, so this is something very important, and a lot of job opportunities are going to come up in this sector. We all know how companies like Amazon and the Indian counterparts, Flipkart and all are hiring. Okay, so it's a field which has become really important after the pandemic. So if you're not able to sell your products online, if you're not able to have a presence online, then perhaps you have something to think about. There are various opportunities in this sector. So you can, of course, work as an e-commerce manager in a company which essentially produces products. You can become the manager of an online store, for instance. You can become the web marketing manager of a company. And a lot of it is also related to logistics and supply chain management, because essentially what companies like Amazon do is just supply chain management. They don't even produce products. Okay. So basically they work as like, like an assembler, a gatherer of products. And that's where logistic accuracy and supply chain management comes in. A lot of new companies which are also getting quite big in this sector, like Zalando or Alibaba, for example, eBay, etc. Expedia, for instance, or Everly, which is the major supermarket, it's the major player in the sales of fresh products, supermarket products and groceries, for example. They are the founders of all these companies are ex-Amazon employees. And basically, it's funny because there is no, for example, master program in the world which trains you exactly in how to make a career in e-commerce. So you can do a master in marketing, you can do a master in, for example, digital marketing, web marketing, and so on. But what Amazon does, for example, you learn in Amazon. And then either you stay in Amazon or you get out, find something of your own, found something of your own. That's how the e-commerce sector is. And therefore, this particular, for example, master program that we have recently created is interesting because there are very few programs that really teach what this kind of business is about. And of course, the consulting path is another major area in which you can explore opportunities. So you will learn everything about B2C commerce, B2B e-commerce as well, and omni-channel marketing strategies too. So marketing, of course, lies at the heart of all of this, but then the focus is how to digitalize your sales department. Okay. So these were some of the sectors in which you can explore opportunities in, and I hope you found some of these statistics important. And we have a range of programs that we offer in each of these sectors and others as well in marketing, luxury, supply chain, procurement, digital transformation, of course, fintech, cybersecurity. We have a big portfolio that you can take a look at on the screen. And for those of you who are attending today's session, there is this discount code that you can see on the screen, which is SEED 14th October 2021, which you can use in case you're going to apply for one of our programs before 31st of December, barring the luxury management program, because for that we are unable to offer it. But for all the others, you will have a discount of 50 euros on the application fee, which means that our fee, the application fee to activate your application is 100 euros. It will be reduced to 50 euros by applying this discount code on our payment portal until 31st of December. Okay. And well, just to run very quickly with the key details of our master program. So we are based in the beautiful city of Milan, of course, and that's the key study location. Of course, many of our master programs are double degree, or they provide an exchange opportunity in some other partner in Europe. And we are based in Milan, but our programs are 100% in English. So they're absolutely English taught, and you will have the opportunity to learn, by the way, the Italian language on the program if you'd like to. And we begin in fall 2022. On the auspicious day of the Shara, tomorrow we open the applications for the fall 2022 intake. So you can already get started. And the fee is, of course, in the range of 18,500 to 21,000. To put it simply, all the programs cost 18,500 euros, and 21,000 is the fee of the luxury management program, which is 21,000. So there are no scholarships for the luxury program, but for all the programs that cost 18,500, there is a scholarship offered of 4,000 euros max. Okay. Then we provide a series of career development activities as well for our graduates. So being at the business school is all about being in close contact with companies. So we have career management workshops, for example, with LinkedIn. We have networking events, recruitment days, on-campus placement days with companies. We provide access to the job portal. We have the CV book circulation service, and also all of this is done to help you land eventually an internship, which can be undertaken in the final part of most of our programs, in fact, all of our programs. Okay. And well, a quick word on Politecnico di Milano, which is, of course, our parent university. Perhaps many of you are familiar with it because it is the #1 technical university in Italy. And its core faculties are, of course, architecture, design, and engineering. But we at the business school are formed like this. So we are part of Politecnico di Milano, of course, but we are also partly owned by these companies. And this group includes some top-notch names like IBM, Vodafone, Luxottica, Whirlpool, Microsoft, and so on. And these companies help us design, redesign, and revamp our curriculum, but also they roll out internship and job opportunities for our graduates. What you see on the screen is just the tip of the iceberg, but the latest stat that we have received from our Career Development Center is that this year they collaborated with 9,000 companies. So the company network of MIP is top notch. It's super big. Okay, and of course we have recently had the privilege of becoming Triple Crown. So now we are included in the elite list of business schools who hold the Triple Crown, which is the combination of AACSP, AQUIS, and AMBA accreditation. So all our master programs are AQUIS accredited, and all of the MBAs are AMBA accredited as well. I don't know how many of you are actually looking at a master program and how many of you are also leaning towards an MBA, but probably we can ask some questions in the end to explore that further, Sanjay. And on that note, we have our second guest speaker of today, which is Zeeshan Qureshi. Again, a very dear friend of mine, also hails from my city, Bhopal, by the way. So of course we're friends, and well, I'll just give a quick word about Zeeshan. So Zeeshan was part of the very first edition of the Big Data and Business Analytics program at MIP. That was, Zeeshan, correct me if I'm wrong, 2015, isn't it?
2016, 2017.
2016, 17. That's right, which was the first edition of the program. And well, today he has had some very nice experiences in some top companies, both as internships and full-time jobs as well. Now he's based in Germany, and he'll be happy to answer any and all of your questions about, of course, the experience at our business school, but of course his experience in the domain of big data, data science, and analytics as well. So feel free to ask. But to begin with, Zeeshan, would you like to give maybe a little introduction about yourself, a little maybe, let's say, insightful paragraph to inspire our guests, which are 400 plus. So I'm sure they're all looking forward to hear from you.
So, Bhor, before we go to that, I just want to do one quick thing and welcome Zeeshan. Thank you for joining us. We're really looking forward to this. In fact, Bhor, at one point we touched the maximum capacity in the room. We had 500 people logged in, and there were people in the waiting room. So, fortunately,
so you had to.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Okay. So I'm sorry for those who had to be thrown out, but we are always available.
No one got thrown out, but new people couldn't join, unfortunately. But that shows the interest in the whole presentation and the careers in Europe.
Lovely.
And how the whole industry is changing, right?
Of course.
And we've seen a shift happen in India as well, right? Fintech
companies, of course,
moved quick, just touched $1 billion valuation in India. Paytm's valuation is through the roof. All the fintech companies are seeing huge jump in valuation. Tech companies are seeing a huge jump in valuation. And it's mainly the disruption caused by the pandemic. So the topic of today's session, the emerging careers in the post-pandemic era, is quite apt on and quite useful over here. Before we go ahead and interact with Zeeshan, what I wanted to do was, since you spoke about a number of programs that MIT offers in various domains, I wanted to gauge the audience interest in various domains. I wanted to see from them which kind of programs or which programs appeal to them. I've just launched a poll. So to the audience, if you can see the screen right now, if you can respond, you can choose multiple options. That's possible. But ideally, you obviously don't choose all 6, 7 options. But have your preferences. If you want to look at 1 or 2 of these are your top choices, then which are your top 2 programs of interest? And that's what we are trying to gauge. Please respond. Really helps us, gives us some insight or feedback into where the leaning or what kind of trends are emerging. And we'll talk about all of these and more with Zeeshan and with Bhor as well. Okay, I see 75 plus responses coming so far. I'm going to keep the poll open for another 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. So if you haven't responded yet, do respond. Would be great to get your insight into which domains you're most interested in. Okay. Any guesses, Bhor? Any guesses, Zeeshan? What do you think the audience would be leaning towards? You're not able to see the response.
I can't see the response. I can see the poll right now, but since you asked me to guess, I will guess. I think since India is a land of engineers, I am guessing, well, I mean, all of these are tech topics as such, but since we are very big on IT, I'm guessing cybersecurity and big data and fintech should be, let's say, the most popular ones. What do you think, Zeeshan?
Zeeshan, your take?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you more. I would also throw in digital transformation in the mix because Sanjay spoke of the disruption caused by these emerging macro trends that we see, and digital transformation is definitely a very important one these days. So I would just add this one to the list.
Interesting. So I'm going to end the poll now, and I'm going to share the results for everyone to have a look as well. And yeah, almost there. So Bhor, your topics were cybersecurity, big data, and fintech. Zeeshan, you added digital transformation to that. And yeah, it looks like that. So the audience interest leaning towards cybersecurity. And Bhor, you spoke about some recent hacks that happened. In fact, I know the power grid in US was on the verge of collapse at one point. A hospital got hacked and a lot of the medical records were not available. So a lot of critical surgeries could not be done. And cybersecurity has become like the thing, but you're correct, right? With the industry moving towards the new, traditional banks trying to convert into fintech companies now and all of that, transformation, fintech, big data, these are emerging trends as well. So very interesting over here. And now let me bring in Zeeshan. So Zeeshan, your board did introduce you. We did see your profile. But why don't you take us through your career journey? You started working in India. I understand your initial job was in IT services in India. You spent 2 years over there and then eventually made this whole transition over the last 4 to 5 years to end up in Germany. So why don't you take us through your journey and tell us more how this entire moment happened for you?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, Bor, for a little primer. But yeah, as you rightly said, Sanjay, I started off my career in TCS, IT services. We all have heard of this brand sometime or the other, or probably some of our guests are probably working there, and so on. So yeah, that's where my career started. Was my initial foray into the world of, let's say, analytics, supporting analytics or decision making, data-backed decision making in the project that we were doing in TCS, or I was a part of in TCS. But it was kind of more on the not so innovative in the sense that there were a set of tasks you had to perform them, but they were like a cog in the entire wheel, so to speak. So it was not the entire spectrum, huge organization, huge clients. So you have like a smaller piece of the pie, so to speak. So just to get like the the larger picture, just to know this thing like from start to finish. And I started looking. I had done a bachelor. I wanted to do a master at that point. In my research, this program came up actually fairly early in my research, and then that seemed to offer a good blend between business education plus technical data related topics. So machine learning, this was also an emerging trend at the time. Machine learning, data science, various database technologies, cloud-based or otherwise. So everything seemed really good. I did this program. I was really happy with it. And then, and like Bor mentioned, I did an internship in Italy, in Milan, and it was in the field of finance, but in BI. Then I, just to expand my horizons, I moved at some point to Berlin about 3 years ago. And I've been associated with two companies thus far. This one, Babbel, being my second, which is a edtech company, essentially a language learning platform. Probably you've heard of it. Before that was HelloFresh. So it was like food tech instead. So like subscription-based food delivery, raw ingredients delivery company. So yeah, all in all, this was kind of in a nutshell my career journey, and of course in my various roles, I've been like in kind of the center point of, well, data has been like the thing in my in all the roles that I've had. So it's a focal point for me, rather, in other words. So be it as an analyst or as a product owner, but building data products in the end. So that way, having data at the center of everything that a company does. I've seen it in both places, in HelloFresh and in Babbel. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at right now.
Very interesting. And Zeeshan, we do have a number of questions coming to you about opportunities in various domains. But before we get into that, I wanted to understand from you the challenges that you faced in this whole journey, right? Because there's this mindset that comes in India that, hey, if you're looking to study abroad or pursue masters, look at countries where the language of communication you traditionally a little hesitant about European countries because of that. How easy, complicated, or difficult it was for you? And what did you do to make this transition happen, right? You went to Italy, you studied a program over there, did internship over there, worked over there, eventually moved to Germany. So you've lived in two different European countries. How challenging it was for you?
It's a very, very valid concern, I would say. I mean, and there's a reason why people have that concern, because traditionally speaking, if you look at traditional sectors, you look at law, you look at medicine, or you look at I don't know, automobile, when you talk about Germany or Italy for that matter, or you look at fashion in Italy, is definitely a dominant factor. But these days, with these emerging trends and these disruptive technologies, tech has overtaken the world, with these massive companies that are forming, startups becoming unicorn companies, and so on. There's a massive need for people. With massive need for people, you at some point you run out of the talent pool in your home country. You start looking outwards. So that's where like a great opportunity has opened up for folks like myself, meaning that companies establish English as their working language, even in Europe for that matter. So in our high tech or IT focused companies or tech companies, in short, this was not as much as much of a problem as I initially thought it could be. So yeah, just to circle back to what I said before. So in traditional sectors, it could be a problem, but like for the focus of our talk today, it's like high tech companies. I think it's a bit less of a concern, I would say.
Language of tech is tech, right? It's a very different language.
Exactly.
That's common across the world. Your architectures, the backend systems, that communication language is going to be the same for the system. So I think that helps. That really gives that perspective. Zeeshan, I'm going to take an audience question over here, and Bor, I'm going to request you to weigh in as well on this one. Unfortunately, the person posted this question anonymously, so I can't take the person's name. but he's claiming that he heard somewhere or read somewhere that by 2022, IT jobs would cancel 3 million traditional jobs. Will automation eventually kill all jobs? So are you seeing those trends where the machine learning or artificial intelligence algorithms are replacing a lot of the even traditional jobs, but also a lot of the traditional tech jobs? If getting a feel, or are you seeing the disruption happening in the manpower requirements or their resource requirements over there?
Well, yes. Okay, Zeeshan, do you want to begin first here? Because
Yeah, of
you're
course.
the hands-on guy, so I'll let you
I
speak
can-
first, and then I will give my.
And Zeeshan, I saw on your profile that you're hiring people in your team, so you are on the ground over there doing recruitment as well for your team and expanding teams over there. Maybe your perspective over here could be very insightful.
Yeah, I see. So definitely, what I see is a shift in like skills that is needed to keep pace with these emerging companies or technologies. So manpower has to kind of adapt. But having said that, I don't completely agree with the statement that it could completely kill off the need for human interaction at some point, right? Because it's more as a complement, that a complementary part that I see. So there is tech, which is like automating a lot of things. Even it's doing it rather well, but at some point you also need human decision making in the end. So they have to work together, in my view. And it is the trend is definitely going towards that direction. There's more and more. So okay, you have two versions of a mathematical model, let's say, but still a human being has to decide in the end, like, okay, what is performing better, on like really drilling down into the data and then making a call. So of course, this machine, which is job is to like crunch the data and produce a model, but you need an expert in the end who could tell what is better. So this just to give you one example, but there's many other. So yeah, Bor, do you want to add something?
Yeah, well, I'll kind of just rephrase what you said, maybe in a simpler way, which is that I mean, for the person who asked this question, and I'm sure that you've got this data from authenticated sources, but I mean, I'm sure it's right, because a lot of automation technologies are wiping out a lot of job roles, for example. But basically, there are roles, there are skill sets which cannot actually be replaced by machines. Okay, so like Zeeshan said, okay, you can have an algorithm which can give you a model, which can predict trends, which can give you patterns, but at the end of the day, you need a human brain to analyze this data and eventually to take the decision. So for example, in data science or in anything in general, you can have patterns and numbers generated by machines, but to make the strategy, you need a human being. Okay, so for strategic decision making, strategizing, top management decisions, C-level executives cannot be machines, for example. Okay, so there are certain job roles which cannot be machine oriented totally. Yes, these executives, these professionals can take the support of technology to make better decisions, more informed decisions. But at the end of the day, you need a human brain to create an idea. Okay, so to bring innovation, to bring even disruption for that matter, it needs a human brain. Okay, people management, okay, HR roles, for example, a lot of HR roles can, okay, you can do the training on Zoom and not in person. That is technology helping you to do your job. But at the end of the day, I need to be there. I need to be here to deliver the, for example, the talk. Okay, so like Zeeshan said, it's a combination of tech and human skills at the end of the day. So also we have to appreciate the fact that yes, automation or even the pandemic for that matter has brought in disruptions, because of which a lot of job roles are being wiped out, but new ones are being created. So it's kind of like a trade-off. It's a balance at the end of the day.
So if I can summarize this, so basic repetitive tasks, right, or the simple,
exactly,
which don't require a lot of decision making or
that's right,
that capability, those basic jobs are being replaced or being wiped out. But
that's
at
right,
the same time, a lot of new opportunities are coming in, which require higher level of technology and business capability, to make those jobs possible. So while yes, if you limit yourself in terms of skills to very basic jobs, you don't upgrade yourself, upskill yourself, then yes, there may be a risk. But if you upskill yourself with the emerging technologies, keep up with the trends, then there may be many more opportunities opening up. In fact, I take an example over here from a slightly different approach. So cars like Tesla with automated driving, people are talking about the jobs of drivers getting killed off, which may be true. So drivers may lose job, but there are hundreds and millions of jobs opening up for technology background people to develop the whole ecosystem for automated cars, the charging infrastructure, the software that goes to make these cars possible. Those are opening up a lot of opportunities as well. So yes, there are opportunities. You just need to upskill yourself and keep yourself up to date with the trends, emerging trends. Zeeshan, I'm going to take one question, and this is your again, unfortunately asked anonymously. I usually like taking the person's name and talking, bringing in who this was. This person is asking you about the process of getting a work visa in Italy or in European Union post your completion of your master's from MIT. So what was the process, or more if anything has changed since then, if you can come in over there as well. But how does a student who study at MIT secure the postgraduate work permit, and how long is it valid?
Okay, so I'll just give a word on Italy, and then Zeeshan, maybe you can explain about your experience, like the transition from Italy to Germany as well. So, I mean, a lot of our graduates eventually, like Zeeshan, explore and obtain opportunities outside of Italy as well and across Europe. But typically, the first experience is through an internship within Italy, because an Italian company has the ease of hiring you, starting with an internship contract. So when you graduate from Politecnico di Milano, which is a public university, so when you graduate from a public entity in Italy, you will have your work permit as long as you have a job. Okay, so you're not part of the quota system. The Italian government basically has a quota system, so they have a certain limit to the number of work permits they can release every year, which is the quota. Now, if you haven't studied in Italy, even if you have a job offer from like a top organization, IBM, okay, anything like that, even then your work permit isn't guaranteed. I mean, because it's possible that the quota for that year is over. But when you graduate from a public university, like Politecnico di Milano, you will always have your work permit as long as you have been accepted by a company. And the process of conversion from the study permit into the work permit is almost like a cakewalk. It's easy peasy. Outside of Europe, of course, you will be starting not well in a way from scratch, in the sense that of course you can go there, probably also start working like Zeeshan you may have done, but they have to file a new application for you. So your company has to give you a set of papers to be able to apply for a work visa, because that is not that doesn't have a universal applicability, if you like. So if you have a work permit from Italy, you can work only in Italy as a non-European candidate. On the other hand, of course, if you are in Italy, you have the right to travel to all the 27 member states of the Schengen area, but work rights are national. Okay, so you have it for one country, and then eventually, I mean, you can go to other countries to get interviewed, for example. That's the benefit of the mobility that we have in the Schengen area, but eventually you will need to obtain a different work permit. But if your company has accepted you, they will support you with the paperwork. Zeeshan, do you want to kind of now give your personal example?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you said. So if a company hires you even outside of Italy, then they're more than willing to sponsor, kind of help you with the paperwork. Even they, in my experience, for example, and I see a lot of other companies in Berlin doing this as well, that they work with external consultants whose sole job is to like help with the paperwork, bureaucracy, filing of application, and so on. So it's relatively straightforward.
That's right. And in Italy in particular, if any of you are actually interested in Italy as a study destination, then after 6 years of consecutive stay in Italy, you will have the right to apply for the permanent residence permit. So your residence permit will still be there, but with no validity. So unlimited, let's say, validity. And then after 10 years of stay, you can also apply for an Italian passport if you like. So this is the transition process typically in Italy for international students and expats.
Or you did bring in that MIT is a public university, right? So
yeah, we are part of a public university. So Politecnico di Milano is a public university. It is a state-owned university, and we are part of it. So we are partly owned by Politecnico. So of course, the degree award comes from there. That's our parent university. We are part of the School of Management of Politecnico di Milano. But we are also partly owned by companies. So the added advantage of being at MEEP is the company network, basically. So our programs are different from the university programs that Politecnico or any other university-based entity provides. So they're more, they have a more academic focus, whereas the focus in the business school is all about partnership with companies and industry integration of programs and networking with companies. So it's a different approach altogether.
And we saw those collaborations. So for each program, you have a number of industry collaborations.
Yes, we do.
How do these collaborations play out? So
yep, I can tell you.
Of course, industry visits and stuff like that. Okay.
Of course, yes. I will also ask Zeeshan to maybe tell a bit about his experience during the program. If you remember any companies that you met, anybody that you liked, and anyone that you liked in particular.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this this morning. Since so many years have passed, like 5 years, but yeah, one thing that really came to mind was so one thing is to do like your curriculum, your modules, your marketing modules or finance or what have you. But what really stood out for me during the course was actually the ability to do a capstone project with a real company, with like a very well-known company called Exotica. You might know it as the parent company of Ray-Ban, for example. So we actually had a chance to do like work on a business case with them. So a really good experience, right from requirement gathering to developing a project jointly with them. So yeah, this is really, and that really brought together everything like in theory that we had learned and translated that into practice. So that was very fun, actually. Yeah, as a group, we were divided into different teams and we carried out different type of projects.
That's right. So yes, so the business school gives you this kind of an experience. So of course you have your traditional lectures with academicians, so with professors, but at the same time we organize a lot of activities which are highly experiential, and they are with companies. So these partner companies, each of our master programs is in collaboration with some or the other company which belongs to that sector, which is a real player from that sector. For example, luxuries with the Prada Group, then big data with IBM. We have Whirlpool with Amazon, and with MSCPM, which is supply chain with Whirlpool and Amazon. So we have media and communication with Google, for example. So we have some top players included in each program. They roll out, of course, internship and job opportunities, but then they participate in this kind of projects, like practical projects with the participants. So that is the experience that you get at the business school, which also justifies our price, the difference in the price of our programs compared to a standard master program at a public university, like a university-based program, for example.
But very interestingly, what I noticed that your tuition fee is actually lower than some of the top-ranked business schools in India.
Which is
so very competitive and very comparable.
Because we are part of a public university. So let's say we get that advantage.
Yep.
Yes. So we do get that advantage, and on the fee where the fee is 18,500 euros, the candidates can apply for the scholarships, which can be up to 4,000 euros. But the easiest one to obtain for today's participants is a special discount that we have agreed for, which is of 1,500 euros for everybody who will be applying to our programs before 31st of December.
All right. So this is. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to
You can repeat that.
Yeah. For the audience.
Sure.
Okay, so all of you who are in the room right now and listening to this webinar, till 31st of December. So if you apply to MIT School of Management, except for the international luxury management, so it's 1,500 applicable for luxury management as well, or not?
It's not, unfortunately.
Okay. Except for the luxury management course, if you apply to any of the programs at MIT within this year, then firstly, you're eligible to get a 50 euros application fee waiver. So the code for that is in the chat window. You can get that. Secondly, you also become eligible to get a 1,500 euro scholarship. So almost everyone It's a given. Of course, I would want board to look at merit criteria as well to some extent wherever possible. But everyone who applies, who's attending this session and applies by 31st December, becomes eligible to get a 1,500 euro scholarship as well. And of course, if you have more merit, if you show up your more potential, then you can possibly secure something higher as well. But 1,500 euros is almost a given for you. So make the most of this opportunity. And additionally, I know this, so we are in the last 5-10 minutes of the webinar, so I want to touch upon this before we miss out on this. Or is currently in India. She is traveling across various cities in the country, of course, taking all the precautions given the pandemic. But I know she was in Indore recently. She did some interactions in Delhi as well, due to come to Mumbai as well very soon. So she's across the country. So if you are looking to meet her and interact, clarify your doubts about studying at MIT, studying in Italy, want to understand more about the programs, the features, the criteria, and have that interaction with her, and there is an opportunity possible for you. She had shared her WhatsApp number initially on the screen.
I will, because the screen sharing has stopped, but I'll just post it once again. So that way people have it handy. So I'm available to meet you in Indore, first of all, Bhopal and Delhi for sure. And for Mumbai, we are collecting the requests now, and hopefully we will be able to organize sessions over there. But for sure, New Delhi, Bhopal and Mumbai. And if not, then of course, I can always call you and organize a session on phone or virtually as well. The idea is that the business school selection process is quite personalized. So we stay in touch with you. I'm going to be your dedicated recruiter. So I'm going to guide you on what programs could be right for you. And of course, take you through the whole process step by step. So we do these kind of personalized meetings with almost every student. I'm, by the way, in charge of the entire Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So I have the pleasure of meeting very young, talented, and lovely students from all of these places. And I'd like to help you out. So I'd like to help you out, take the right decision, of course, guide you through the process, and also do a pre-assessment of your profile, because we like to see if you would be a good fit for our program, but at the same time, if one of our programs is a good fit for you and if it will fulfill your expectations. This is basically the idea of a pre-assessment session, which we are happy to organize face-to-face, like Sanjay said, in the cities that I mentioned, Bhopal, Indore, and Delhi for sure. Mumbai, possibly, yes, also. If not, then on phone for sure. Okay, so I will again post the message over here so that you can WhatsApp me, and then we can decide mutually on a date and time based on your convenience. And I'll be very happy to meet you in person for sure, if possible. Okay, so I'm just sending across my WhatsApp once again in the chat window here. And I could see a question that popped up in the meantime, which was about the requirements for the, well, Master in Mechanical. Master in Mechanical is offered by Politecnico di Milano. So it's not one of MIT's programs. Like I said, Politecnico by origin is an engineering, architecture, and design university. So the engineering programs are offered by another faculty, which is not managed by MIT. To say it's not a part of the School of Management of Politecnico di Milano. And therefore, I can't comment on that. But as far as the acceptance rate in MIP is concerned, it's high, because we do this kind of pre-assessment for each and every candidate. So we are happy to already tell you if you're not eligible for a program. So we won't be shy in telling you this. So therefore, it's important for us to meet you. So take advantage of the fact that thanks to the relaxed rules after well, the very grave crisis that we faced, we're able to kickstart a little bit of activities face to face. Of course, we are maintaining all the measures of social distancing, okay, masks and so on. I'm fully vaccinated, so just to be sure. Okay, so I'll be happy to meet you, of course, maintaining all the safety norms. And so I have just put up my WhatsApp over here. And do message me, just drop me a message, and then we can, of course, book a slot for you. And I have also posted a link of my YouTube channel here, which is about student and expat life in Milan. So if any of you are specifically targeting Milano or Italy in general as your study destination for the coming years, then do check it out, because we have a lot of interesting videos about student cost of living, other aspects of non-academic life for students and expats. So perhaps Zeeshan is smiling because he watches some of my videos. Thank you,
I
Zeeshan.
wish I had that when I was planning to come to Milan. But now I enjoy watching it nonetheless.
Yeah, the pandemic triggered us to create something like this. But then, I mean, yes, we understood the pandemic taught us that technology can be put to good use. And therefore, there was a lot of buzz about Italy initially, because there was not the hardest hit, but the first hit, let's say. So we had students worrying a lot about like what their future is going to be like. So I, along with my partner, said, okay, the media is really exaggerating things. We have to do something about it. So we created this platform. Fortunately, I had quite a good response. And now our aim is just to provide as much as possible information about non-academic matters, so that you as young students can take the right decision, take an informed decision, and be updated about what's happening right now, right here, right now in Milan, as far as students and expats are concerned. Okay, I will take one final question, which is coming from a person who has graduated in psychology. We do not have a program in psychology as such, but with your discipline, you can apply for various of our master programs, including the one in media and communication management, also in marketing management. You can also target luxury management and digital transformation. Programs which are more on the tech side, like big data, cybersecurity, etc., I would say no, because they have a lot of quant and numeric stuff to deal with. But others, for example, marketing, media and communication, e-commerce and sales management, also project management, innovation and entrepreneurship, these can surely be targeted. You can also target sustainability management. We have 4 different masters in sustainability too, because it's again an important topic for most companies. But with a psychology background, marketing is an interesting field, because you can always aim to develop a career in biomarketing or neuromarketing, for example, as well, with your psychology background. PhDs, we don't offer, unfortunately. We have only masters and MBAs. Okay, so I guess that was the final one for me to answer. Sanjay, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, that was absolutely correct. Unfortunately, we have not been able to take some questions which were not relevant to the topic we have today. So since we are interacting with MIT School of Management, which does offer a number of tech business masters program, if I can call them that way. So these are programs which have a component of management along with technology. So there was a question about courses in agriculture, pure courses like the one in psychology. So those we haven't taken. So my apology to the audience. We couldn't pick up your question mainly because it wasn't really relevant to the topic in hand. But if you are looking for more information about MIT School of Management and the programs, do check out their website. As Noor mentioned, they do have a YouTube channel where she's posting a lot of up-to-date content and information. And I want to invite Zeeshan to share any parting words about what a prospective student. You have a lot of the audience over here today and in final year of college as well, undergraduate education. So you're trying to figure out how to take these bold decisions about going abroad to study. So any tips from Zeeshan? Worth it to go abroad? Do you miss your life in India? Or what would be your advice to someone who's in the pre-final year of college now? What would be your advice to them?
I would say it's definitely worth it, and you would never know until you at some point you have to take a leap of faith, and you're in really good hands with Bhor. Like she really helped me in like my first interactions with MIP, and even after kind of also during my first first part of my student life. So really go for it. Just read and just read about your courses of interest, and I would say just apply and take the leap of faith. Really, I think it's definitely worth it.
And it pays off, of course. We have seen that your examples over there. You've worked in Milan, you've worked in Italy, you're working in Germany now.
Yeah,
So great,
absolutely.
great opportunities to get that cultural exposure in different parts of the world.
Oh, I was going to say, so it's very, very rich experiences in the sense that you get to work with so many different nationalities. In our course in MIP, I remember we were 22 people from 14 countries, and the story remains the same. Like here, even in Milan, here in Berlin, it's pretty much the same. You get to work with people from 50 nationalities, 100 nationalities. So that's a great workforce to be a part of, for sure.
Awesome, great. Thanks. For any parting words to the audience, or shall we wrap up?
Okay, I will probably answer the question that you asked to Zeeshan. So it's studying abroad is a life-changing experience. I have been an international student myself. So I know how hard it is to cope up initially.
You studied in France.
Yes, I started my journey in France, and then I used to work for another business school there in France for a year. Then since 2013, I've been here at Politecnico di Milano. So I've seen a little bit of these two countries, and it's a life-changing experience. You get a whole new perspective. You get a different way of looking at things. So if you're just in your country, yes, I mean, our country is very diverse and we can experience a lot of, let's say, differences even in one country. But then when you get out, you meet so many different nationalities and understand their ways of working. Cross-cultural management is a skill that you can only hone once you're in a group with people from different cultures. It's very difficult to be taught in a classroom, or to be read from a book, they say. So that's the kind of experience that most top business schools provide to you, including us. We have 70 plus nationalities across all the master and MBA programs. So in one group 15 to 20, but then across all the master programs it's 70 plus. And well, yes, so if you're looking for a life-changing, super international, super global experience, then hop on. Okay, and we are there to provide you guidance, of course. And I'm really hoping some of you would like to actually book an info session with me, and I get to meet some of you, because I mean, we're almost at the end. We still have 130 something people connected, which is staggering. So it's quite an encouraging response for us. I just hope that all the stats that we compiled for our partner companies were useful for our participants, and they gave you some idea of the kind of opportunities that you can look up to in the future, in the coming 2 to 5 years. And based on that, well, you can base your research for master and MBA programs on these lines as well. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Sanjay, and to Zeeshan as well for taking the time. And thank you to everybody else for taking the time to connect today. Have a very happy Dussehra tomorrow, and nice weekend as well. I just hope to see some of you in one of these 3 cities that I named, also speak to you possibly on phone, but also eventually to meet you next year in the fall in Milan as well. So on that note, thank you very much. Ciao, ciao, and buona serata.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. Thank you, Zeeshan. Thank you for taking out the time to do this. And thank you to the audience. You have been wonderful today. Thank you for coming in. And we hope you found this session useful and very insightful. I personally did. So thank you again for coming in. Keep safe. Take care. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Board. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Zeeshan, and thank you to all.